As daylight fades, Sheriff Boyd Stevens walks through town, ringing a bell to let everyone know it's time to get inside. Sarah Myers locks up the diner, touches the charm hanging by the door, and right then, the little jukebox on the table powers on by itself. At the clinic, Christy tells Deputy Kenny Liu and his father, Bing Qian, to head to the basement. Bing Qian starts getting worked up, but Christy keeps him steady. Gina helps guide him downstairs. Kenny tells Christy she's good at calming people down. He sticks around a bit, clearly into her, but she tells him to leave. She locks up and checks the charm before heading out. Boyd watches the people in the big mansion step inside, looks at the sign by his office door that says, "Nights Without Incident, 96, and heads in for the night. At the bar, Tom tries to get Frank Pratt to wake up, but the guy's too drunk to move. Tom gives up and leaves him slumped in his seat. Back at Frank's house, his wife Lauren waits by the door, tense, while telling her daughter to pray. Upstairs, Megan finishes her prayer when she hears knocking at the window. There's an old woman outside who calls herself Grandma. Megan says she isn't allowed to open the window, but the woman says they can keep it secret. Lauren shows up right as Megan opens it, and the old woman suddenly turns into a monster and attacks. Next morning, the Matthews family is on the road in their RV. Inside, Julie is playing with her little brother Ethan's toys, acting out a scene where one of them, Norman, dies from monster bites. Ethan doesn't like it and asks her to bring Norman back. She refuses. He complains to their mom. Tabitha listens, then tells Ethan that monsters aren't real, so Norman must still be fine. That makes him feel better. Back in town, Frank stumbles home with a hangover and sees a crowd. Boyd steps up, furious Frank didn't nail the windows shut when there was a kid inside. Frank realizes what happened and breaks down. Boyd drags him upstairs where the bodies of his wife and daughter are lying torn up. Frank collapses, broken. Boyd tells Kenny to lock him up. As they leave, Father Kotry walks in, probably to do final prayers. On the road, Jim Matthews remembers his first trip with Tabitha to meet her parents. They joke about his old car and how her parents didn't actually hate him. Jim starts to bring up how things used to be better, but Tabitha cuts him off. Then they spot a single fallen tree in the middle of the road. Just one. It looks off. Suddenly, a bunch of crows takes off, screaming above them. With no way forward, they turn the RV around and try to find another way through. On the edge of town, Boyd runs into Donna, who runs Colony House. She's not happy he showed up without warning. They had a deal. He says he just wants to see his son, so she lets him through. Upstairs, Ellis is sketching Fatima when Boyd walks in right as Ellis compliments her. Fatima greets Boyd with a smile and heads out. Ellis doesn't hide the cold tone when he asks what Boyd's doing there. Boyd says there's been a death, Frank's family, and Ellis should come to the funeral. Then he walks out. Meanwhile, the Matthews family still can't find the highway. No cell service either. They eventually roll into town, right as the funeral wraps up. Boyd and Kenny spot them. Jim asks how to get back to the highway. Boyd tells him to take the road uphill. In the RV, Julie starts messing with Ethan about how a group of crows is called a murder and says they'll peck him while he sleeps. Jim shuts her down, and Tabitha chimes in, saying maybe it was ravens. They're called an unkindness. But instead of the highway, the road loops them right back to town. It freaks them out. Elsewhere, Sarah meets her brother Nathan at the barn. She's holding back tears, saying the worst part is still thinking the road home might show up. Back in the RV, the Matthews try different turns, but no matter what, they land right back in town. Jim turns the RV around again. Boyd tells Kenny to get the spike strip ready, but before they can do anything, a car comes flying toward the RV. Jim swerves. The RV crashes down a slope and flips. The car smashes into a tree. The driver jumps out and runs straight to Boyd and Kenny, yelling about the crash. Boyd bolts down the hill and tells Kenny to get Christy. Christy hands the driver, Toby, over to Gina. Boyd checks on the other passenger, Jade, who's clearly drunk, and cuffs him to the car. Then he finds the RV and jumps in to help. Tabitha's out cold. Ethan's got a table leg straight through his leg. Kenny, Christy, Kotry, and Ellis show up fast. Boyd pulls Julie out, shaken but fine. The rest work on the others and get Jade out too. At the clinic, Sarah brings Toby some water and tells him to rest, says things will be okay. Back in the RV, Christy says Ethan's injury will take at least an hour to deal with. Kenny warns there's only 40 minutes left before sunset. Boyd and Christy decide to stay in the RV with a charm. Jim, Tabitha, and Julie say they want to stay too, but Boyd tells them the woods are too dangerous after dark. He pushes them to head to town, but lets Jim stick around. Later, Toby wakes up and asks if everyone's all right. Sarah tells him she doesn't think so. He starts to panic. She kisses him, calms him down, tells him it's not his fault, then slices his neck and kills him. At the RV, Boyd tells Ellis if that drunk guy starts acting up, just cut him loose. then thanks him for showing up. Ellis calls the whole thing a death mission, but Boyd tells him to just watch over the family. Not far off, Tabitha's losing it, keeps saying their baby's in the RV and they're gonna save Thomas. Jim reminds her Ethan's the one stuck. She breaks down, says her head's messed up and she doesn't trust anyone around here. Kenny shows up and tells them it's time to move. Jim climbs into the RV to help Christy get ready to pull the thing out of Ethan's leg. Boyd locks down the place, covers the windows and doors, hangs up the charm. The rest hop in the truck to head back, but they hit the spike strip Kenny left. So Kotry and Ellis lead them on foot to Colony House. Inside the RV, Ethan starts having a seizure and Christy tells Jim to hold him steady. Night drops in. Boyd checks outside. Place is swarmed. Creatures everywhere. Night hits hard in the RV. Ethan suddenly stops twitching when a voice outside asks if they're all right. Jim's ready to bolt, thinking help showed up, but Boyd holds him back. Meanwhile, Kenny's crew pushes through the downpour, heading to Colony House. Father Kotry's dragging an out-cold Jade trips, and Kenny helps him up. Inside, alarms blare. Fatima tries to get the door open, but the guard's spooked and doesn't trust it's really them. Creatures are creeping close. Donna rolls in, lets them in just in time, but slaps cuffs on Tabitha and Julie. Standard rules. Back in the RV, Jim wants answers about the creatures. Boyd doesn't got any, just says the talismans keep those freaks out. Ethan stirs, and Christy hits him with something to knock him back out. At Colony House, Ellis ties Jade to a bed. Trudy pokes around, eyeing the cars outside. She goes to snatch Jade's watch. Ellis shuts that down quick. She flirts, calls him cute, then just sits there, enjoying the show. Donna finds Tabitha, cuts her loose, drops an apology. Tabitha bolts, but the guards stop her fast. Donna breaks it down. No one's out to hurt them. Everyone's been in the same scared spot. She starts laying out the mess they've landed in. Downstairs, Victor's munching peaches next to Julie, who's still tied up. He's chatting like it's a picnic, saying 2 cars at once is rare, wondering what it means. Julie's crying. Fatima comes in, sends Victor packing, says he's been here too long. She frees Julie, takes her to Ellis's room filled with drawings, says Ellis would probably love sketching her, shows her the window view too, tells her if you get high enough, even the worst nightmares can look kinda pretty. Back in the RV, the voice outside drops a line. They should have let them help. Jim's spiraling, worried they're gonna break in. Boyd and Christy keep still. Boyd reminds them the talisman's their shield. Christy starts cracking too, but Boyd says the creatures are messing with their heads. They hear something up on the roof. Boyd tells them to stay locked in on Ethan. At Colony House, Kenny vents to Father Kotry about being held at gunpoint. Ellis walks in saying there's a room ready. They start bickering, blaming each other, until Kotry tells them both to cool it. Over at the clinic, Bing Qian wipes the floor with Gina at chess. She jokes she's trash. He says she's decent. He's just better. Says when he came to the States, he didn't speak English, but chess made it easier. Gina says it's sweet he taught Kenny. Bing Qian says Kenny's real name is Fu Hen, but he wanted to blend in. Then he suddenly slips into Cantonese, asking for his son. Gina keeps it calm, tells him Kenny'll be back tomorrow. In the RV, Christy, Boyd, and Jim yank the busted table leg out of Ethan's leg. Over at the clinic, Sarah's whispering to Toby's corpse, crying that she can't go through with it, then mumbles a sorry. At Colony House, Kenny's knocking back drinks with Kotry, stressing over his mom. Says his old man had dementia but still remembered chess. Talks up Christy's skills, then says he's done going outside, barely hanging on. Upstairs, Ellis heads to his room and finds Julie chilling in there. Tabitha's not having it after the town rules get laid out. Calls Donna nuts. Donna just laughs and asks how many loops she drove if she saw any of those freaks. Tabitha's unsure. Donna says her sister said the same. Tells her how they found a tree and a bunch of crows at sundown, didn't turn back, and landed in the nightmare. On their second loop, one of the creatures blocked the road, just smiling. Her sister stepped out with a shotgun, got her face peeled off. Donna hid in the woods listening to her scream. Says she's been stuck here for 3 years, 6 months, and 17 days, and those screams never left her. Jim's eyeballing their IV setup, notices it's a mason jar. Christy says their supplies came from a stripped-down ambulance. Jim asks if she's a doctor. She says she was just a third-year med student. Shoots the question back at him. He says he designed theme parks. Christy catches that he's still using present tense. Ethan wakes up and says he saw drawings on the wall. Those same drawings are in Victor's room, including one of their crash. Kenny and Kotry are dragging their drunk asses up the stairs. Kenny shares how his dad once dipped, hopped on a bus to the city, and on the way back, they somehow landed in this place. At Sarah's, she's in the shower while Nathan knocks, saying dinner's on him. She's crying, saying she had no choice, asking him for backup. At the clinic, Gina checks on Toby and finds his bloody mess of a body. She clocks that the creatures got in and sprints to the basement. Back in the RV, Christy has a nightmare about the creatures busting in but wakes up to daylight. Kenny, Kotri, and the Matthews girls show up. The fam finally reunites. Somewhere else, Sarah tells Nathan a story about a girl trapped in a room full of broken glass. She tried fixing what was already lost and ended up slicing herself. Nathan begs her to say what she did. Sarah drops it. She left the clinic door open. When the van hits the clinic, Kenny sees the door wide open and dashes inside. Finds Gina dead. Finds his dad too. Breaks down. Next thing, he's in the woods hacking a tree. Boyd finds him. Kenny says he's chopping wood to make a new chess set. The old one's covered in blood. Remembers how every game ended with him dodging his dad's last move. Points out the creatures don't rush. They just stroll, like they know no one's escaping anyway. Hands Boyd the bloody chess piece. Says the board's just about full. Boyd goes back to his office, wipes the chalkboard clean. It used to say, Nights Without Incident, 96. At Colony House, Julie makes up a story using Ethan's toys, trying to cheer him up. But Ethan spots the boy in white outside the window. The kid just holds a finger to his lips. Tabitha wakes up sweating from some messed up dream about those night monsters. But everything's chill for now. Over at Colony House, Jade's wild and out, strapped to a bed and screaming for Toby. Donna's fed up and tells him to shut it. He keeps running his mouth, but Donna breaks it down for him, starts laying out how things really work here. Boyd gets up the next morning, just staring at that damn box sitting outside his office like it's mocking him. He heads over to see Frank locked up and checks if he needs anything. Boyd tells him what's coming isn't about hate. It's just how it has to be. Frank nods, says Lauren always respected Boyd for being the tough one. Says he used to be better, used to be something. Boyd asks if there's anyone he wants to see. Frank says there's just one thing. Back at Colony House, Donna and Ellis are giving Jade the full rundown. He still thinks it's some fancy prank or an escape room with actors. He walks off, dead convinced it's all fake. Then he spots Clara pedaling by, snatches her bike like it's nothing. Ethan, meanwhile, sees that weird boy in white again outside his window. Tabitha and Julie walk in, letting him know Jim's grabbing stuff from the RV. Ethan asks how long they're sticking around. Tabitha gives him a soft answer. They're working on it. At the diner, Tien Chen is rushing the kitchen like she's on fire, but Kenny tells her to slow down. She knocks over a glass, cuts herself trying to clean it. Kenny patches her up, tells her not everything's on her shoulders. She starts spiraling, blaming herself for not being with her husband, but Kenny stops her. As they're talking, Sarah shows up and helps with the mess. Back at Colony House, Victor's pacing and counting steps like always. On the porch, Fatima finds Julie sitting alone and offers her some berries. Julie's surprised they grow their own food, and Fatima jokes about how bad grocery stores are anyway. She sees Julie's mood dipping and tries to lift her up. Inside, Jim finally returns with their bags. He and Tabitha mess around with Ethan and his Chromonocle book, just trying to feel normal. But Donna shows up with Father Kotri. Time for the choosing ceremony. New folks have to decide, Colony House or town. He offers a tour. Julie wants in, but her parents tell her to stay and look after Ethan. She's pissed. At the diner, Jade storms in loud as hell looking for clues. He cuts the food line like he owns the place. Tien Chen's had enough, smacks him with a whisk and lights him up. Outside, Sarah meets Nathan. He reminds her she's supposed to be laying low. She brushes it off, says folks would get suspicious if she ghosted, tells him to head back to the barn, says she's got it handled. Meanwhile, Kotry's explaining how the talismans work. They keep the monsters out, but if there's kids in the house, you gotta lock the windows tight. Tabitha's looking around like everyone's lost their minds. Kotry says people adapt. Stick to the rules, and you'll stay alive. Then she brings up that creepy box. He tells her straight, it's punishment. And tonight, it's getting used. Kotry takes them to the Pratt's place. Says the whole family got ripped apart last night while the dad was off getting wasted. Shows them the blood-soaked room. Tabitha's in shock. Looks at Jim like he's lost it. Jim tells her he still hears creepy stuff outside the RV, whispers and scratching. He's done doubting. This stuff's real. If they don't wake up, they're next. Boyd takes Frank to his daughter Megan's swing, a little spot he made for her. Frank remembers pushing her so high it scared Lauren. He asks if he'll get buried next to them. Boyd says he will, then walks off, leaving Frank there swinging with his ghosts. At Colony House, Ellis was fixing up a crutch for Ethan while the kid healed. Julie, looking salty, asked Fatima why they were even helping her fam. Fatima just shrugged it off, said that's how they roll. Over at the diner, Jade was stuffing his face with Kenny, still acting like this whole place was one big prank. Kenny asked if anyone gave him the rundown. Jade said Donna gave the starter pack, but he wasn't buying it. He's eating eggs in a diner, not exactly a horror movie. He even cracked jokes about wild chickens. Kenny, fed up, said no one knows where the damn chickens or cows come from. Jade just asked if he was supposed to find some big clue, then dipped. Christy rolled in, and Kenny told her Jade's gonna get himself wrecked. She checked on Tien Chen, and Kenny muttered that denial runs deep in his fam. Outside, Ethan found Victor pacing and asked what he was doing. Victor said he was checking on something and told the kid to scram. But when Ethan mentioned the boy in white, Victor froze. He said he was seeing if the trees moved, but wasn't done yet. Julie spotted Ethan and yelled at him to quit hanging around Victor. Jade kept pedaling through the woods, found this sketchy root cellar, went inside, and boom, bloody body crushed by a boulder. Thing turned its face and screamed at him. Dude freaked out, fell over, spotted some weird symbol on the ceiling, looked back, body gone. He bailed and called Toby a damn genius while riding off. Boyd rolled into the church and said God's gone silent. Khatri told him to listen harder. Boyd snapped, said he didn't want to throw Frank in the box. It was supposed to scare, not kill. Khatri hit him with some cold logic. If rules don't mean anything, why even have them? Boyd barked about mercy. Khatri asked if that's what he wanted. Boyd shouted he didn't want to see Frank ripped apart. Khatri didn't sugarcoat it. Said if Boyd let this slide, folks would start doubting him. Boyd stormed out, tossed a talisman on Frank's bed, told him about a shack outside town. Frank asked what Boyd was going to tell the rest. Boyd didn't answer, just walked. At the choosing ceremony, Khatri explained the deal. Pick a rock if you want to live in town, pick a flower if you're cool with chaos in Colony House. Boyd rolled up to drop some real talk, but Frank spoke instead. Said he used to be a good dad, then fear twisted him. Told the crowd not to forget what matters. Said he lost the only people he loved, and he's done. Jade, still in Delulu mode, started clapping like it was some reality show. Boyd grabbed him and forced a choice. Jade picked the rock, started yelling threats, so Kenny dragged him off to show him something real. Boyd wrapped up the ceremony. The whole Matthews crew picked town except Julie. Little drama there, but rules are rules. Boyd calmed the parents down, said his own kids at Colony House too. Khatri reminded everyone, get your ass home before dark. Kenny took Jade to the graveyard, tried to get through to him, but Jade kept mouthing off until Kenny showed him Toby's messed up corpse. Jade broke down, finally snapped out of his clown mode. As the sun dipped, Boyd and Khatri walked Frank to the box. Frank asked Boyd to promise he'd get everyone home. The Matthews family settled in without Julie. Jim and Tabitha read to Ethan like everything was fine. At the Liu's place, Tien Chen cried at Bing Qian's shrine. Kenny showed up with Jade, said he'd be staying for a bit. At Colony House, folks raised a toast for Julie joining the squad. And while all that was going down, the creatures crept toward the box. Boyd watched from his window. Frank tried to hold it together, but in the end, he just gave up, slumped to the floor, and waited. The creatures got in, and that was it for Frank. Victor, as a child, climbs out of a root cellar and sees dead bodies lining the road near the town. In the present, he draws Julie in crayon while she sleeps. When Julie wakes up, she is startled. Victor tells her that he is starting to remember things he once believed were dreams, and some of those dreams might have really happened. He gives her the drawing, which leaves her confused. Trudy then shows up and asks for her pillow, which she calls Meredith, saying everything important should have a name. As she leaves, Julie notices Trudy's shirt looks like hers. Trudy explains that she took it from Julie's suitcase because people share everything at Colony House, which bothers Julie. Boyd drags wood to fix the box and finds Frank's dead body. Meanwhile, Sarah enters the diner and sees Tien Chen crying, who quickly composes herself. In their new home, Jim finds Tabitha in the kitchen. She is emotional, remembering how he would stop crying when the sun came up. She wonders if they are being punished. Jim is surprised, but she explains that everything feels wrong. She's drinking tea from a dead woman's mug, in an impossible place, inside a house where a child died. Ethan comes downstairs, sees his mother crying, and she lies that it's a headache. Ethan says he misses Julie. Jim suggests going to the diner for breakfast, but Tabitha stays behind to unpack. At the diner, the jukebox turns on by itself when Jim and Ethan arrive. Sarah introduces herself and says that Tien Chen always makes something special for newcomers. Jim realizes that her husband died at the clinic the night before. Boyd takes Frank's body to the church. Khatri notes that the creatures left little behind and asks if Boyd will stay for the service. Boyd refuses and reminds Khatri that he wanted Frank dead. Khatri asks if that made him feel better. Boyd ignores him and leaves. Jade leads Kenny to the root cellar, explaining that he found a weird symbol and a dead body crushed by a boulder, which later started screaming in a cabinet. Jade gets frustrated when Kenny doesn't seem to believe him and says he knows the difference between a vision and a hallucination. He says he built a company with his imagination, but even he can't make this up. Jade says nobody is looking for answers, and Kenny invites him to the sheriff's office. Back at the diner, Tien Chen brings pancakes to Ethan and comforts Jim with a hand on his shoulder. Ethan asks if they live here now, and Jim tells him to think of it like a vacation. Ethan compares it to a quest, like his toy Norman at the Lake of Tears. Jim is surprised when Ethan says Thomas is on a quest to save a kingdom. Jim goes to the bathroom and cries. Meanwhile, Tabitha finishes unpacking. Victor enters the diner and says the trees have moved closer, which is bad. Ethan wants to tell someone, but Victor says they wouldn't understand. Victor then asks Ethan if the boy in white in his drawing is the one Ethan saw. Ethan confirms it, and Victor looks worried. Jim returns, sees the drawing, and shoves Victor out, warning him to stay away from Ethan. Ethan gets upset and tells his father he was wrong. Jim and Ethan return home. Ethan tells his father he shouldn't have treated Victor like that. Jim tries to apologize, but Ethan wants to be alone. Meanwhile, Fatima and Julie gather laundry. Fatima explains Trudy likes hoarding clothes. Tabitha comes with Julie's sweater and says she and Jim miss her. Julie admits she misses them too. Tabitha urges her to return home, saying she can leave whenever she wants. Julie gets angry, saying she's always made to feel like she's wrong. She accuses them of treating her like a child. Tabitha admits they love her and Ethan deeply. Julie responds by saying Thomas is dead, but they still have 2 kids, and asks why they aren't enough. Tabitha tries to explain, but Julie leaves. Fatima promises to give her the sweater. At the sheriff's office, Kenny shows Jade a map of where people were before they ended up in the town. Jade was on the East Coast. The Matthews came from Arizona. Kenny says everyone came from random places. Jade laughs, calling it impossible, but says he refuses to accept this world as normal. Kenny warns him that people who don't adapt break down. He says the worst part isn't the monsters, it's what happens to the mind. Jade hears radio static and takes the radio with him. Jim sits on the porch, staring at Victor's drawing. Tabitha joins him. She says she saw Julie, and the visit went how he probably expected. Julie already knew about the divorce. Jim says everything will be fine, but Tabitha tells him to stop pretending and admit he doesn't know what to do. She says his optimism makes others feel like they're the problem. Jim argues back. She asks what's been fair about the past year. Inside, Ethan overhears them and sees Victor outside. Victor tells Ethan they need to find the boy in white. Ethan says he can't leave, but Victor says the boy chose him now, like he once chose Victor. Victor gives Ethan a walking stick for the quest. Boyd works on the box when Cautry returns the cart. Cautry says he's okay being Boyd's target if it helps, but Boyd ignores him. Cautry recites a sarcastic version of Psalm 23, urging Boyd to stop feeling sorry for himself. He reminds Boyd that before he arrived, Cautry buried more people weekly than ever before. He credits Boyd for bringing order and discovering the talismans. He says Boyd can't afford grief. 6 people have died in 3 days. Cautry urges Boyd to lead, or her death will be meaningless. Boyd stays silent as his hand starts shaking. In the forest, Victor tells Ethan that the boy in white first appeared after 2 cars arrived the same day. Just like now. Victor reveals he has been in the town longer than anyone. Ethan asks about Victor's parents, but Victor grows defensive. Ethan shares that Thomas died. Victor is stunned. Ethan says he trusts Victor because they are friends. They spot the boy in white and follow him. They reach a large tree with a hollow trunk, which Victor calls a faraway tree. He throws a rock into it, and it falls back near them, like from the sky. He says people can travel through it too, but the destination is unpredictable. He says there are more trees like it, but this one is new. They hear a dog barking, and Victor flashes back to his childhood, seeing a dog near dead bodies. He says they need to leave. Meanwhile, Jim and Tabitha search for Ethan in the forest. They find a dog that looks like the one from Victor's memory. Suddenly, they are surrounded by barking dogs. Victor scares them away with a revolver hidden in his lunchbox. Ethan is glad to see his parents, but Jim is scared of Victor and moves toward him, furious. At the barn, Nathan's feeding animals, when someone rolls up, tells him Sarah passed out at the diner, and they're hauling her to the clinic. Christy checks her out, says she's stable but should stay the night. Sarah says she's fine and doesn't want Nathan stressing, so Christy should just say she's asleep. Christy later tells Boyd about the situation. Sarah's okay for now, but without an MRI, they're guessing. Boyd asks if she's ready for all this. Christy says the clinic door won't be left open again. Boyd wonders if what's happening to Sarah and Ethan is because of this messed up place. Christy doesn't know. Says most of it doesn't make sense anyway. She spots Boyd's hand shaking and tells him to swing by tomorrow. When she sees Nathan coming, she warns Boyd. Sarah wants space. Outside, Boyd tells Nathan Sarah's asleep. Christy's watching her, and he should come back in the morning. Nathan pushes back. Boyd asks if something's up. Nathan says he's just worried. Boyd tells him Sarah's safe. Back at the Matthews house, Ethan asks about Sarah. Jim and Tabitha say Christy's got her covered. Jim suggests writing questions on the wall to figure things out. Starts with, "Where are we?" Over at his place, Nathan sits by Sarah's bloody clothes, lost in thought. That night, Sarah's wandering around the clinic, thinking about swiping a scalpel. Christy catches her. Sarah says she can't sleep. Christy says same and offers tea. While drinking, Sarah says Christy and Kenny make a cute pair. Christy says they're just friends. Sarah calls it out. Kenny clearly likes her. Christy explains it's complicated. She had a fiancé named Marielle. Still thinks about her. Sarah says she had someone too, but it's better he's gone. Things were rough and Nathan saved her. Now he's all she's got. Then she asks Christy if she'd do something bad to see Marielle again and get everyone out. Christy, checking if it's just a what if, says she would. One bad thing might be worth it if it saves everyone. Next morning, Jim's still staring at the question wall. Tabitha asks if he's cracked anything. He throws out 12 as a joke, then says everyone saw the same fallen tree before ending up here. Tabitha says all these questions have been asked already. Writing them won't help. Jim says maybe they're missing the real one. He hands her the marker. She hesitates, not sure if she even wants the answer. At the clinic, Sarah thanks Christy for the chill night and says they should do it again. Nathan shows up, and they leave together. He says they need to talk. Sarah says sorry for scaring him, says she blacked out and doesn't remember. Nathan's upset she's brushing it off. Sarah says she needs to get to the diner before Mrs. Liu freaks, then tells Nathan she loves him. Over at Colony House, Fatima finds Julie making a list of people who might be wondering where she is. Julie says not knowing is worse for them. Fatima says she did the same thing, asks who's on it. Julie mentions family, some friends. Fatima jokes, boyfriend or girlfriend? Julie says no, probably for the best. One less person hurting. Fatima decides she needs some fun and tells her to meet downstairs in 5. She tells Ellis about the list and says they should show her the Brundles. In town, Jade's pacing with a radio, muttering to himself. Trudy sees him near the bar and asks what he's up to. Jade says the radio helps him think. Trudy flirts a bit, says she watched him sleep, cracks a joke about what could have happened if he hadn't picked town. Then she walks off. Jade heads inside the bar. At the station, Kenny tells Boyd Sarah's doing okay, brings him some food. Boyd asks him to hold the fort. He's going to visit his wife's grave. Inside the bar, Jade's checking the place out. Tom says he built it because people need a spot like this. Asks if Jade's all right. Jade says nope, downs the moonshine. Instantly regrets it. Tom reminds him he just got here and lost someone. It sucks, but gets easier. Jade says the real issue is they don't even know where the hell they are. Says they're just throwing darts blind. Starts yelling. Tom calms him down. Jade says he sold a company, made a fortune, should be partying, not stuck here. Says they gotta understand the paradox to break out. Tom brings up Schrodinger's cat, says he used to teach philosophy. Jokes that if Jade's so smart, he should fix the radio. If the cat turns it on, at least they'll know it's still breathing. Outside the Matthews place, Tabitha's patching up Ethan's arm, tells him it's healing quick. Kid wonders if this freaky place actually helps people too. Downstairs, Sarah swings by to see him. After calming down the parents, she joins Ethan on the merry-go-round. Nathan's out looking for Father Cautry at the church, but it's empty. By Colony House, Ellis and Fatima bring Julie to a peaceful little spot called the Brundles. Looks like a lake with a dock, toys scattered around. Feels weirdly normal. Julie's stunned by how calm it all is. She asks how Fatima stays so chill. Fatima opens up. She grew up in Iran. Her dad spoke out too much. On her birthday, men came for him. Mom told her to hide. Dad got dragged out and shot. She says monsters don't only crawl at night, but she made a promise. Never let them take her joy. Ellis comes back from the water, jokes about her staying dry, and picks her up. Tabitha's by the window, watches Ethan and Sarah. Tells Jim that's the most like himself Ethan's been in a while. Outside, Ethan asks how long Sarah's been around. Few months, she says. He tells her his folks are working on a way to get them all home, just like the Chromonocle in his stories. Tabitha joins, teases about the merry-go-round. Sarah offers to show him the animals at the barn. Tabitha tags along. Jim's still glued to his wall of questions. Out in the woods, Boyd visits his wife's grave, drops flowers, says sorry for staying away, says creatures killed a family at the clinic. Everything had started to feel normal again. But now, the hand tremors are back. Same thing that got his dad. He's worried his time's running low. He's got an idea to get folks out, but if it fails, it could blow everything up. He jokes about her always handling the hard stuff. Says he doesn't believe in signs, but damn, he needs one now. Nathan finally finds Cautry out meditating in a field, asks what the rules are for confession. Cautry says whatever he says stays between him and God. Nathan warns it's something real bad. Back at the barn, Sarah introduces Tabitha and Ethan to a goat named Alma, tells Tabitha she's got a sweet family, and yeah, it's scary, but it'll feel normal eventually. Tabitha says she doesn't want normal, just wants to go home. Sarah nods, says it used to be worse before the talismans. People just hid, offers to show one of the old hiding spots. After Nathan's done talking, Cautry tells him he should have spoken up sooner. As he walks off, Nathan begs him not to put Sarah in the box. Cautry promises to keep quiet, but says they've got others to think about too. Nathan says Sarah's at the diner. They head out. Inside the barn, Sarah leads Tabitha to a hidden room, shoves her inside, locks the door, apologizes through the banging. In town, Khatri tells Nathan to go find her. Boyd stops Khatri, asks how someone's supposed to know if a sign is real. Nathan reaches the diner. Tom says Sarah went to the barn with Tabitha and Ethan. Sarah tells Ethan she likes him and what's about to happen will save everyone, just like in his stories. Ethan senses something's off, asks for his mom. She grabs him. Nathan shows up, tells her to let go. Sarah's yelling about this being the only way out. Ethan slips away. Nathan grabs her. She panics, swings the scalpel, accidentally cuts his throat. He drops. She starts crying. Khatri walks in. Julie, Fatima, and Ellis get back just as Ethan comes running, tears all over. Jim breaks open the barn door, finds Tabitha. She tells him to get Ethan. Julie shows up with him. Crowd forms. Christy checks on Nathan, but he's gone. Boyd keeps the Matthews family close. Khatri says Sarah bolted into the woods. Boyd says if she's back before dark, they'll deal with her. If not, she's the woods problem. Jim's pissed, says they all called this place a big family. Later, Jim and Tabitha tell Julie she handled it well. They send her upstairs with Ethan. She promises to read him the Crom Watsit story. Once the kids are gone, Tabitha writes one more question on the wall. Did we survive the crash? At the diner, Christy's looking rough. Tells Boyd Sarah was asking weird stuff about doing bad things to go home. Boyd says it's not her fault. Christy says it actually felt good hanging out with Sarah. That's probably when she stole the scalpel. Father Khatri delivers a sermon during Nathan's burial, talking about how life in the town and beyond is ruled by both chaos and faith. He says, from the moment they are born, they are surrounded by chaos they cannot understand, and in trying to make sense of it, they find faith. That faith becomes the anchor that gives chaos meaning. In this struggle, they discover purpose. He ends his sermon by quoting Proverbs, urging people to trust in something greater, even if they do not understand. As he speaks, Jade searches around town for equipment to build a radio. Tabitha goes through her house, and Julie notices graves Victor dug and finds flowers left on the porch. After the sermon, Tabitha hands Father Khatri a collection of Bible verses she found among the Pratt's things. When asked, she admits Ethan is scared and confused, especially after what happened with Sarah. She wants to know if anyone has seen Sarah. Khatri says Sarah ran into the woods and never returned, likely killed. She asks whether the verses were written from memory, and he confirms they were. She then asks how he knows what is real in this place, or whether they are even alive. Khatri says it does not matter. Whether they are dead or alive, they are trapped and still searching for home. What matters is that they continue the search. He tells her that her family was definitely alive when they arrived. After she leaves, Khatri heads to the basement of the church, where Sarah is tied to a chair. He tells her they need to talk. Meanwhile, Boyd and Kenny finish digging Nathan's grave. Kenny struggles to understand how someone like Sarah could be involved in something so dark. His mother is also heartbroken. Boyd brings up the point Kenny made earlier about the board filling up with the names of the dead. Though Kenny brushes it off, Boyd thinks he is right. At the Matthews home, Tabitha finishes sorting the Pratt's belongings while Jim checks a lamp. He finds there's no wire inside, and the outlets are fake. Jade suddenly bursts in. After a tense exchange, Jade admits he has an idea for the radio and asks if they want to help. In the church basement, Khatri tells Sarah that he knows there is not a single Bible in town. He wonders why, considering the town's strange nature. He understands Sarah might be expecting punishment, but explains that Nathan told him about the voices she hears. He removes her gag and tells her he believes she still has something good to offer. At Colony House, Julie puts the bouquet into a pot. Fatima notices and tells her it is laundry day, bringing her along. On the road, Jade and Jim strip wire from Jade's luxury car. Jim questions this, but Jade says his car is high-end and not like the others. Jim looks back at the wrecked RV before they leave. In the diner, Tabitha and Ethan bring the Pratt's items. Tian Chen leads them to storage. Ethan is nervous, and Tabitha reassures him that Sarah cannot hurt him. Inside the storage room, Ethan compares it to a fantasy world filled with lost treasures. He talks about a dragon who found meaning in forgotten things and gave directions home. He hopes they can find something helpful here too. Tabitha then finds a bracelet and keeps it. Boyd visits Christy at the clinic. He asks about Kenny, and Christy tells him Kenny is struggling after his father's death. She says Kenny is trying to be what others expect of him because he is the deputy. Boyd says he has not tried to pressure him, but Christy says Kenny does not need a sheriff right now. He needs a father figure. Boyd accepts this and thanks her before leaving. Christy then closes the door to the room where Bing Qian died. At the Matthews home, Ethan finds Tabitha staring at the bracelet. When a lamp nearby flickers, Ethan asks about it, and Tabitha says she does not know. She suggests they go on an adventure to figure it out. She unplugs the lamp, moves furniture, and starts hammering into the wall, stunning Ethan. In the forest, Jim climbs the tree while Jade watches from below. Jade suddenly hallucinates that his hand is soaked in blood, and the tree is covered with bodies in Civil War uniforms. He sees blood dripping and a strange symbol carved into the bark. He turns and sees a soldier pointing a rifle at him. Panicked, Jade runs through the woods, but the soldier chases him and stabs him with a bayonet. Jade collapses in terror. Jim finds him and helps him up, assuring him it was not real. Jade pushes him away and leaves. In the basement, Sarah says the voices claimed they wanted to help and had been in town for a long time. They were waiting for someone like her to help them escape. She believed them because they knew things they should not, like when the cars arrived, events that triggered deaths. The voices said she had to help them to keep people safe and return home. When asked how, she admits she does not know. She says they told her Nathan would be okay, and she begins sobbing. Khatri comforts her, saying that if the voices are real, then the town is reaching out to her and that makes her important. But they need proof to convince Boyd. Suddenly, Sarah cries out in pain, saying the voices are showing her something. She asks for paper. In the forest, Jim works the radio under the tree. He picks up a signal and tries to reach out. At the diner, Jade obsessively sketches the symbol from the tree. Tien Chen brings him tea, which he rudely dismisses at first. She speaks gently in Cantonese, and he accepts the tea. When she notices the symbol, she walks away. Jade follows her to the storage room, where she opens a box and finds a journal filled with the same strange symbols. Jade is shaken. Back at the Colony House, folks were busy putting up decorations for a party, while Ellis was just looking around. Upstairs, Julie thought it was weird they were celebrating the day Fatima got stuck in town. Fatima said they were really celebrating that they made it through, and sometimes it's good to have a party. She found a sweater under her bed and hid it from Trudy, who totally loved it. Julie told Fatima she made town feel almost normal and said she was special. Fatima said everyone was special, even Trudy. Ellis asked if they wanted to start drinking early, but they both said no. He teased them and called out for Victor as he left. Julie asked if Ellis was all right, and Fatima said nights like this were hard on him because they reminded him of those who didn't make it. Then Fatima gave Julie a dress for the party. In town, Boyd walked the streets ringing a bell, telling everyone to get inside. Tabitha read to Ethan at home, then closed the curtains after he fell asleep. At the Liu house, Kenny found Jade drawing the same strange symbol over and over. Kenny told him off for drawing in his book, but Jade snapped back that he ran out of paper and asked if Kenny wanted him to start drawing on the walls like a crazy person. Father Khatri waited outside the sheriff's office for Boyd. When Boyd showed up, Khatri said they needed to talk somewhere private. Inside, Khatri saw Boyd was ready to leave and said they still had more to discuss. At the Matthews house, Jim was sketching plans for a radio tower. Tabitha said Ethan was asleep. Jim joked Tabitha broke child labor laws making Ethan dig in the basement, but she said he liked it. She admitted she got nervous when Ethan was out of sight. Jim said the windows were nailed shut and doors locked, so the creatures couldn't get in. Tabitha worried about Julie too, but Jim said Donna would look after her. Tabitha asked about the radio tower. Jim said if Boyd let him use all the building stuff, drained batteries, and let them use Colony House's high ground, it might be enough for everyone to hate him when it failed. Tabitha told him not to doubt himself, reminded him he got a signal. Jim said it was just static, but she said it was something, and kissed him. They joked about the basement hole before Tabitha left to dig more. At the sheriff's office, Boyd told Khatri his plan to search the forest for a way out. Khatri showed Boyd a bag he buried when he got to town and told him to look inside. Boyd got annoyed and asked what was going on. Khatri said they never talked about who they were before town. He told a story about a quiet kid from his church with strict parents. The kid once asked to stay with Khatri, but he gave him candy and sent him off, not wanting to upset the parents. Later, Khatri found the kid's dead body while the father yelled at it and smelled of booze. Khatri remembered the candy bar in the kid's pocket and how the father insisted the kid would be fine. Khatri beat the father and blamed himself for failing the kid. He said he thought about ending it all after drinking alcohol from the bag, but heard God's voice telling him to get back to the car and follow a new path. That path led him to town. Boyd asked why he was telling him this. Khatri said it was because Sarah was tied up in the church basement. Khatri said he knew there was a reason they were trapped, but Boyd pointed his gun at him. Shocked, Boyd demanded Khatri say he was joking. Boyd angrily remembered Khatri pushing to put Frank in the box. Khatri said Sarah might be the way home, and Boyd demanded he explain. At Colony House, Kevin sneaked away from the party to meet the creature he called Jasmine. She said she only came to say goodbye, which hit Kevin hard. She asked why he wouldn't let her inside. He said he couldn't, but begged her to stay and talk. She said she couldn't keep coming if he was scared and disgusted by her. She told him she was just as lonely and didn't choose this. As she left, Kevin told her to wait, said there was a party downstairs, but she was the only one he could really talk to. He made her promise she'd be the only creature to come in. She agreed, saying once the window was shut, no other creatures would get in. Kevin grabbed a crowbar and started pulling the nails off the window. Downstairs, drunk Dale's rambling about dimensions and weird theories. Stacy wonders if they're stuck in some other dimension. Dale says they're in a pocket universe. Ellis cuts in rough, tells Dale to shut up. Things get tense. Ellis starts a fight, but Fatima steps in to stop it. Dale warns Fatima to get Ellis upstairs before he causes more trouble. Fatima and Donna hold Ellis back before he can throw a punch. Fatima checks if Ellis is okay. He says sorry and heads to his room, telling her to enjoy the party. After he leaves, Dale calls Ellis an animal like his mom, and Donna lands a punch right in Dale's face. Upstairs, Kevin opens a window, and Jasmine jumps in, closing it behind her. They hug and kiss, but then Jasmine scratches him and bites off his tongue before attacking. At Colony House, Fatima finds Trudy alone and asks what's up. Trudy says she thinks Fatima doesn't like her. Fatima denies it. Trudy says the party is nice, but doubts she'll ever get one like it. Fatima surprises her, telling her to take off her shirt. She admits Trudy drives her nuts, but she's not alone, then gives her the sweater Trudy loves as an early anniversary gift. Trudy gets emotional and goes off to find a gift for Fatima. Julie finds Fatima and compliments the gift. Julie awkwardly brings up Fatima kissing Stacy, but being with Ellis. Fatima says Ellis is her boyfriend, but was messing around with Stacy. Nervous, Julie asks if she can kiss Fatima, shocking her, then runs off before Fatima can answer. Boyd can't believe Khatri's story about the voices Sarah hears, but Khatri pulls out a drawing Sarah made of a chocolate bar logo. Boyd tries to figure it out, but Khatri insists Sarah couldn't have known that story. Boyd asks if the voice talking to Sarah is actually trying to help, pointing out it told her to kill Bing Qian and Ethan Matthews. Khatri says it's part of town, and Sarah's link makes her valuable in ways they don't get yet. He says it's no accident Boyd's starting this journey now that the connection's showing up. Khatri suggests Sarah and he join Boyd and use her link to their advantage. Back at Colony House, Jasmine washes blood off after killing Kevin, then opens the window for other creatures. Victor's sorting through his stuff when Julie shows up, asking to come in. He hesitates but lets her in after she says she needs to be alone and is having a rough night. Julie asks if he's leaving since it looks like he's packing. He says it's hard to explain. She asks about the graves, but he dodges. Then Julie starts asking about town. Meanwhile, Trudy gets ready to give Meredith her pillow to Fatima. She hears laughter, goes into a nearby room, but the door slams behind her. Surrounded by 3 creatures, she freaks out. Jasmine calls her by name, says they know all their names. The creatures start attacking Trudy. Downstairs, Dale complains about being disrespected but stops when blood drips on him. He looks up to see the smiley creature covered in blood staring down at him. Stacy screams, chaos erupts. The alarm blares, waking Ellis. Madness breaks out. Fatima looks for Ellis while Victor helps a panicked Julie escape. Donna helps people into the van, trying to keep things calm. Fatima finds Donna and says Ellis and Julie are missing. Donna gets ready to search, but Fatima tells her to follow protocol and get everyone to town. Donna agrees and leaves. Victor and Julie climb out his window. On the ground, Victor spots the boy in white and leads Julie into the forest. Inside the house, Ellis sneaks around while the smiley creature prowls. He sees Fatima's sweater and approaches what he thinks is her body, but it's Trudy's corpse. A creature spots Ellis. He breaks a window, climbs onto the porch roof, and jumps off. Fatima finds him and helps him inside. She locks the front doors, hoping the talisman will keep them safe. It works. Creatures bang and taunt them. Ellis asks how she knew. Fatima, tearing up, says she guessed based on his dad's RV experience. Ellis says sorry, and they say they love each other. Victor leads Julie to a faraway tree and tells her to get inside and warn Ethan that it is starting. Julie doesn't get it, but Victor says Ethan will and promises to follow. Julie climbs in and appears in the root cellar. At the sheriff's office, Boyd and Khatri plan their trip. Khatri's hyped, saying this is why he was told to get back in the car, to help find a way home for the trapped. Boyd calls him crazy, but their talks cut short by van horns. Boyd asks about his son as they help people inside. Before Khatri goes in, a creature slashes his throat. Boyd shoots it, but it doesn't work. He helps Khatri inside, and soon they're seen praying. The morning after the Colony House attack, Kenny shows up to a blood-stained Boyd and says most of the survivors have been moved into town. He warns tensions are rising and tells Boyd to speak to everyone himself. Boyd, distracted and still grateful to Father Khatri for risking his life to save his family, hesitates but agrees, knowing his words will carry weight. After goodbyes, Boyd heads to the church basement where Sarah waits. A flashback shows Boyd, Abby, and their son Ellis driving through the countryside while a peaceful song plays. Boyd thinks about the calmness and dreams about owning a boat. Abby reminds him they cannot afford one yet, but Boyd insists they will find a way. They joke about Boyd's army nickname, Mr. Fish and Loaves, for his skill with logistics, and Abby's nickname Iron Abby. Abby asks Boyd to hold something from her bag. He finds a boat key, their surprise gift for him. Then Ellis shouts to stop because of a fallen tree. Boyd steps out and hears an eerie chorus of crows. Back in the present, Boyd leads Sarah into the woods. She is nervous and asks where Father Khatri is and what to expect. Boyd explains that before the talismans, the creatures shrieked all night, but afterward only whispered. When Sarah demands answers, Boyd reminds her she has no right to make demands after what she did. He confirms Khatri died during the attack and that Ellis is scraped but alive. Sarah breaks down, and Boyd warns her if she proves Khatri wrong, he will kill her himself. Still, he says her survival depends on believing she can help them get home. Meanwhile, Kenny settles Clara and other Colony House refugees in his home. Jade protests the newcomers, recalling Clara's earlier comment that town was like a giant escape room. When Jade asks about Victor, Clara says she saw him run into the woods with Julie Matthews during the attack. Jade rushes off to find him. At the Matthews house, Julie tearfully explains how Victor saved her as the strange events start. Tabitha and Ethan guess the faraway tree's power moved them, while Ethan talks about their basement excavation to find electricity. Julie breaks down over confusion. Tabitha comforts her, promising they will find answers. Jade barges in asking for Victor. Jim angrily ejects him for reckless tree climbing. After Jade apologizes, Jim reports static on the radio and suggests raising it above the tree line to improve the signal. Another flashback shows the Stevens family driving into town with a "Save Us" sign covering a barn. Father Khatri suddenly appears before their car, urging haste. Abby pushes Boyd to speed up, but a strange screech makes them follow Khatri to an underground shelter where Donna and Dale hide. Donna tells Abby to holster her gun since it won't work against the creatures. Khatri promises answers in the morning as screams and footsteps above signal the creature's deadly approach. In the present, Christy sets Ellis's broken arm in the clinic with Fatima's help. Kenny arrives to help secure the building and says he is reading chapter 6 of his book, though Christy doubts she will read much tonight and thanks him with a kiss. Jim and Jade return to Colony House to find Donna loading the dead into a wheelbarrow. Jim suggests building a radio tower on the roof to broadcast for help. Donna hesitates but agrees. After losing 14 people the night before, she believes the house might as well serve a greater purpose. Boyd and Sarah reach an old wooden shack. Boyd tells Sarah to wait while he returns to town to finish things before they head home. Sarah promises not to run and insists she wants to help. The flashback continues with Boyd emerging the next morning to find mangled bodies in town. Khatri comforts them and directs them to the diner for more information. Abby frets, and Ellis admits he is shaken. Khatri explains their situation. Nightly hunts by the creatures and talismans that repel them. Boyd calls for unity, organizing rationing and nightly rotations for safety. Donna handles supplies, and Abby drafts hiding protocols. Everyone settles in, anxious but ready. Back in the present, Ethan studies Victor's drawings kept by Julie. Tabitha finds Julie despondent by the basement hole. Julie asks if her parents' divorce is still happening. Tabitha admits uncertainty. Julie feels she might be to blame. Tabitha reveals her grief over Thomas's death shattered her, and that she and Jim pretended everything was fine, making things worse. She tells Julie she did nothing wrong and embraces her. Boyd returns to town to find Tom and Eli leading a crowd against Tien Chen at the diner entrance. They accuse Colony House refugees of using too many supplies. Boyd condemns their cruelty and reassures them they will find solutions. He sends everyone home. Tien Chen admits fear as she enters. Another flashback shows Boyd asking Khatri about daytime creature movements. Khatri doubts they move by day, so Boyd ventures into the forest to scavenge. After over 30 years in the military setting up operations in rough places, Boyd knows how to handle it. His wife was a Marine. Abby dreams of childhood visions while Ellis checks on Boyd. Back in the present, Boyd tells Kenny he cannot leave with town on the edge of riot. Kenny reminds Boyd he planned to leave because things were falling apart. Boyd says after losing so many last night, panicking is exactly what they cannot afford. They argue until Donna arrives. Kenny says talismans only bought time. They must find a way home or die. He urges Boyd to lead the fight and tells Donna to step up. Boyd calms the tension and takes Donna aside to explain. The flashback continues with Boyd returning from the forest with a goat and chickens, surprising Khatri. Ellis warns Boyd to stop going out alone. Boyd promises they will talk later and leaves. He marks trees to find his way back, chases a stray dog until night falls. Lost, he avoids creatures, finds a cave, and discovers talismans that explain their power. In the clinic, Boyd approaches Ellis's bed and says he is leaving to find an escape route. Ellis mocks his forest trips, but Boyd insists and tells him to prepare for possible loss. He tells his son he loves him and is proud. Ellis is speechless as Boyd leaves. Outside, Donna comforts Boyd, thanks him, and begs him to return before rumors start. Inside, Fatima visits Ellis and admits she fears he might hate her for speaking honestly. She says none of this is his or Boyd's fault, but the town's curse. She urges Ellis to go after his father or live with regret. The flashback reaches its peak as Boyd finds Abby in a violent dream shooting townspeople to wake everyone. Abby insists they are trapped in a nightmare where death cannot harm them. When Abby points the gun at Ellis, Boyd shoots to protect his son. Finally, in the present, Boyd handcuffs Sarah, not from distrust but necessity, and they head deeper into the woods, starting the unknown journey that might lead them home. Boyd and Sarah push further into the woods. Sarah wonders how Boyd knows the way. Boyd says he's just guessing. They get to Talisman Cave, where Boyd first found the talismans. He says they're camping there for the night, even though it's still light out. He won't go further with 2 hours left before dark. He refuses to take off Sarah's handcuffs. He cuffed her in front for moments like this. Back at the diner, Kenny talks to his mom about how they're splitting up jobs for the radio tower. Tianchen asks if Jade found Victor yet. Kenny says no, and complains Jade won't shut up about some symbol. If he hears about it again, Jim might lose it. Tianchen thinks Jade is lazy and selfish, but smirks when Kenny says she says the same about her favorite people. She tells Kenny to ring the bell and act like a good sheriff. As Kenny leaves, Christy shows up with his book. She finished Chapter 6. They wonder if the ending will be happy. Dusk falls, and the Colony House survivors shuffle into the sheriff's office, their temporary home. Donna greets them, notices Eric looking down, and tells him to rest. Dale complains about living in a jail cell. Donna reminds him it's only for now. Dale mocks the chance the radio tower has of working. Donna pushes him to give people hope. Dale reluctantly plays along and goes inside. Before closing the door, Donna marks another night on the Nights Without Incident sign. In the Matthews basement, Tabitha keeps digging. Jim calls her for dinner. Climbing the stairs, she gets hit with a strange vision. One moment she's on the main street. Next, she's climbing tower stairs, hearing distant ship horns. She finds scattered stuff, Ethan's toys, and knocks over a glass bottle that crashes below. She hears a phone ring and a baby cry, and tells Jim to get the kids. Feeling uneasy, she spots years carved into the wall. Suddenly she sees Jim hanging overhead, mouth open, but instead of a scream, she hears a car horn, an RV crashing, then jolts awake in her own bed. That night at the sheriff's office, a scream draws Donna out. Eric killed himself. A survivor, crying, says Eric kept saying he was fine and joked about the tower. At Colony House, Jim leads the radio tower build. Kenny says Jade's working on power. Jim says they need more materials. Kenny says he'll organize a wood-gathering crew at the barn. Donna arrives, rough from grief. Jim asks about Eric. She says he's not coming back and goes inside. Ellis finds Fatima in the common room. They talk about Eric's suicide. Fatima says she's more scared of the tower working than failing. Once they get back to the real world, nothing will be the same. She recalls Boyd saying coming home from war feels like another planet and wonders what's waiting for them. Fatima leaves before Ellis answers. Boyd and Sarah keep going. Boyd marks trees so they don't get lost. Sarah worries the forest might loop them back to town. Boyd admits he doesn't know, but they'll find out. He presses Sarah about the voices that made her kill. She doesn't want to talk about it, but Boyd demands to know what convinced her to kill Ethan. Sarah finally says the voices promised 2 cars would come, and if she didn't obey, Nathan and everyone else would die. Boyd gets mad, yelling for her to answer, then lets her out of the handcuffs. He says town's forced good people into awful things. They keep moving. In town, Tabitha and her kids look over Victor's strange drawings. Tabitha can't figure them out. Julie says it's a story, not a puzzle, and they'll decide what to do when they understand it. They find a sketch showing townspeople being massacred. Tabitha wants to stop, but Ethan says they have to keep going. Julie asks if Tabitha thinks the tower will work. Tabitha says they have to wait. Ethan spots a mangled torso in another drawing and asks where it fits. Tabitha wants to quit again. To break the mood, she suggests a game. Talk about what they'll look forward to at home. Tabitha wants to order everything on Giovelli's menu. Julie will call her friends. Ethan just wants to be happy like they are in town, because they never get to play games at home. At Colony House, Jim and Jade argue about powering the radio. They have batteries but no way to charge them. Jade, annoyed, asks if anyone saw Victor. Jade wants Jim to open the book and check the symbol. Jim says to focus on real stuff. Jade says Jim won't make it work. Jim says Jade's not as smart as he thinks. Upstairs, Kenny finds Donna and gently asks if she's okay. She dodges the question and shuts him down when he asks for help with the tower. Kenny talks about wood from the barn. Donna snaps, swinging an axe at the floorboards. Kenny and Jim try to calm her, but she says the tower's not home anymore. It's a tomb. She storms outside to cool down, warning them to get ready for fallout if the tower fails. Boyd and Sarah get deeper into the forest. Sarah brings up Abby. Boyd cuts her off. Sarah says he reminds her of Nathan, always putting others first, and warns if they push too hard, something will push back. They hear clinking and follow it to the bottle tree. Sarah's shocked, remembering Boyd said no one went this far. Boyd tries to knock a bottle loose. Sarah grabs her head, screams, and collapses in a seizure. Boyd freaks out, trying to help her. At the bar, Tom finds Donna drinking and asks about the tower. Donna says she needs to be alone. Tom mocks her distilling skills and leaves when Kenny shows up. Kenny tries to comfort Donna about Eric, but she says that's not why she's upset. Kenny asks if she thinks the tower will fail. Donna asks if he thinks it will work. He says yes. She fears if it fails, it'll break everyone's spirit. She mourns how town used to be, a place tied by joy even with fear. Kenny apologizes. Donna says she'll pull herself together for tomorrow, but warns to brace for fallout if the tower fails. Before leaving, she says if it works, Kenny will see there's more he misses than he knows. At Colony House, Ellis finds Jim struggling with power stuff. Ellis says they got enough wire for the cord. Jim admits setbacks but promises to figure it out. Later, Kenny walks through town, ringing the bell for curfew. He finds Christy sitting sad on the sheriff's porch. She says Eric was her friend with celiac disease. He often came to her clinic, joked even when she told him to avoid bread, helped her settle in town. Christy makes Kenny promise that if the tower fails and he falls apart, he'll lean on her. He hugs her and says it'll be okay. At the Liu's house, Jade complains about the pressure to make the power source. Tien Chen scolds him for whining, then points out the lights still work. They can tap into that electricity. Jade gets it. They can't plug in, but they can use the wiring already there. At home, Jim comes back. Julie asks about the tower. Jim lies, it's going fine. She calls him out but says she believes it will work. She remembers Ethan's faith that they were meant for town and tells Jim about Fatima's words. From high up, even a nightmare can look like a dream. She invites him to dig in the basement. Jim follows. Unaware the lights flicker. In the forest, Boyd's camp is set up. A talisman hangs in their tent. Sarah wakes up gasping. Boyd tells her they're safe. He shows her a bottle he knocked down. Inside is a note with 1864 on it. Sarah says they should leave. The voice this time was a woman saying worse things than the creatures are coming, begging to tell Mr. Fish and Loaves she was wrong. Boyd looks shaken. They both tense as rustling outside turns into violent shaking of their tent. In the Matthews basement, the family digs deeper until Tabitha says they hit bottom. Back in the forest, the shaking stops. Boyd fumbles for the talisman and hangs it back up. Sarah says coming here was a mistake. Boyd says they're safe. Sarah isn't convinced. A loud horn sounds, and flashing lights cross the tent walls. The unknown danger approaches. They brace for what's next. Next up, Julie wakes up and finds Ethan messing with his toys. She tries to tell a story, but he shuts it down fast. They hear knocking from downstairs and go check it out. Jade's there, saying he fixed the electricity problem. He shows how the lamps light up without any power source, solving how to run the radio tower. In the tent, Sarah plays with a worm while Boyd stares at his boat key. She wonders if animals know how messed up this place is or if they just deal with it. She asks what dragged their tent and where they actually are. Boyd doesn't know but wants to figure it out. He steps outside and sees huge spider webs all around. At the diner, Jade and Jim show how to power the tower and ask for some conducting wire. As Jade leaves, Julie calls him out for calling her dad Teacup. Jade promises to stop, but jokes he'll call her Spark Plug now. At the sheriff's office, Kenny finds Donna looking over a map of where everyone came from. She points out they all ended up here from different places. She asks if he thinks the radio will help. Kenny says radio waves travel in ways people don't understand. Donna leaves to help build the tower. Kenny thanks her, grabs his globe lamp, and finds Christy stripping wire from the ambulance. She asks about the lamp. He says it's from college, never worked but reminded him of home. He used to hide stuff inside it. Now he keeps a list of countries he wants to visit. Christy admits she's barely left Grand Rapids. Kenny asks if she'd travel with him. She says she likes him but reminds him she was engaged. Kenny says sorry and walks off with the wire. Tom takes Tabitha to a tool shed to find something to break the rock under the basement. As he leaves, she asks why he's not helping with the tower. Tom says he's seen plenty of clever escape plans and they always end up at his bar. Tabitha finds a pickaxe. At Colony House, while people connect wires to lamps, Ellis pulls Fatima aside and takes her to the spot where he first saw her. He says he's been thinking about her words on going home. He can't remember who he was before her and doesn't want to know who he'll be without her. He gets down on one knee, calls her the love of his life and his home, and asks her to marry him. She says yes. He gives her a wire ring and they laugh. Boyd and Sarah walk through the forest covered in webs, heading toward the same light from the night before. Sarah's worried if this is a smart move, but Boyd shrugs it off. She keeps pushing, and Boyd says their tent got dragged through the woods, so turning back isn't an option. That light was strong, maybe helps that way. Sarah stays cautious, saying the voice she heard felt off. She asks who Mr. Fish and Loaves is. Boyd says it's his army nickname. Only his wife and Ellis know it. He thinks it's crazy Abby sent Sarah a message. Sarah insists she was brought here to help and that the voice told her to turn back. Boyd hears a woman crying for help, but Sarah doesn't. He moves deeper and finds Abby stuck in a web, but the ghost grabs him, screaming. Spiders swarm and bite him until Sarah pulls them off. She asks what he saw, but Boyd stays quiet. At Colony House, Jim and Ethan watch the last touches on the radio tower. Jim checks on Julie, who says she's fine, and heads inside. Jim tells her he's there for her. Ethan wishes Victor was here, thinks he'd like it. Jim says Victor's okay. Ethan says Victor has his part of the quest. The radio tower is theirs. Boyd pushes on, but Sarah tells him to rest and talk. Boyd freaks out about being lost, thinking the place feeds on their pain. He falls down. Sarah reminds him Ellis is waiting, helps him up. They see a storm coming. At Colony House, the tower gets lifted onto the roof. Jade starts to leave. Jim asks why. Jade says he's grabbing more wire, but Jim says they got enough. Jade says he's just going to get his last rolling paper and rides off. He goes to the Liu's house, finds Tian Chen at Bing Qian's memorial. Jade says they might be going home and asks why she's not happy. He shares his story, raised in France by grandma who died when he was 12. Came back to the States to live with his uncle, didn't want to leave his grandma alone, even dead. At the airport, a woman bought him a soda and said they come with you when you go. Jade tells Tian Chen not to feel guilty. Bing Qian's still with her. She asks him to pray. He agrees. Jim explains the radio to Ethan. Donna says they're ready. Jade and Tian Chen arrive with snacks. Christy finds Kenny in the kitchen, gives back his lamp. Kenny says sorry if he made things weird, but Christy stops him. She says she's confused. Part of her wants to go back to her fiancé, part wants to go to Iceland with Kenny. Kenny asks what she'll do. She says she doesn't know, holds his hand. Tabitha shows up as the tower's going up. After it's raised, Jim powers it on, finds a signal, and hugs his family. Tabitha goes back to digging in the basement. Plan B. The mood drops when Clara points out storm clouds moving in. In the woods, Sarah tells Boyd to find shelter, but he's too weak. She takes his bag, says they're close. The horn sounds again. They climb a hill, spot a big lighthouse, the light and sound source. At Colony House, Jim and Ethan run the radio. Jim sends out a mayday while the storm closes in. Donna says they got 10 minutes before the tower falls. Ethan's sent inside. Donna switches frequencies. Jim gets a reply. The voice knows his name and warns Tabitha not to dig. Jim runs off. Donna goes inside. Julie asks where Jim went. Before answering, the radio's power lamps explode. In the basement, Tabitha smashes rock with a pickaxe. The floor falls out. She drops into a cave where Victor finds her. He says the boy in white told him to wait. Tremors shake the house. Victor says they're in danger. The creatures sleep in these tunnels. He shows her cave paintings, pulls her away. Jim comes back, finds the main floor partly collapsed. In the forest, Boyd falls, tells Sarah to go on without him. She won't leave. The boy in white shows up, says Nathan was right. The place is angry. He tells them to get safe and shows a faraway tree. Boyd steps in first, lands at the bottom of a dry well.